Hey everyone, welcome back to another recap podcast from SNXweave. We give quick weekly recaps of news and important updates from the previous week from the Spartan Council and core contributors, as well as discuss what the Grants Council and ambassadors are up to, so let's get started. We've made it to the last week of the Epic, and speaking of the end of the Epic, SNXweave just published Synthetic's first attendance and participation report. Be sure to check out our blog if you missed it yesterday. The report has some very interesting data and information that can be used for voting. Now with just a few more days left, let's review some of the recent and remaining SIPs of V2X. First is SIP 251 to differentiate liquidation penalties. This SIP adds a new system setting for SNX staker liquidations. Currently, there's only one liquidation penalty variable, liquidation penalty, which is used for both collateral loans and SNX staking. SIP 251 proposes to add another liquidation penalty variable, SNX liquidation penalty, in order to distinguish between liquidations on collateral loans and SNX stakers. Mark presented this SIP last week, explaining that it basically adds new penalties to distinguish between the different types of liquidations. This SIP has been voted on and approved with 7 votes in favor, and it has been implemented. The next SIP is SIP 203 for the volume source fee. As we all probably know by now, this SIP will add an optional source fee as a transaction parameter that can be passed from any front end to the Synthetics exchange contracts. This SIP is one of the big remaining scope items for V2X and will take priority now that SIP 251 has been implemented. Caleb brought up the significance of implementing this as soon as possible because it would encourage integrators to take advantage of atomic exchanges. Lastly, SIP 254 for perps trading incentives. This SIP proposes diverting 20% of weekly inflation to trading incentives on perps. Caleb has observed in the past that it is difficult to front-run these incentives for profit, but it is possible to break even. He's concerned that the incentive program would specifically attract this type of high-volume user, diverting most of the rewards to a few wallets without accomplishing the goal of adding new traders. He suggested baking in some flexibility to the SIP to allow the Spartan Council to be more agile if the rewards weren't having the desired effect. Another modification will be to weigh the rewards more heavily towards fee generation rather than just volume. Kane will be taking some of the initial feedback received last week to modify the SIP, and then there will be an official presentation. Lastly, some of the guys from Gauntlet joined the weekly sync last week to discuss the C ratio change. Gauntlet, which is Synthetic's risk management partner, proposed raising the C ratio from 300% to 350% via SCCP 204. They developed models to assess the impact of market conditions on SNX price and the debt pool, which showed that increasing the C ratio to 350% would reduce insolvencies by 28% and liquidations by 45%. The model was built with optimization in mind, balancing both security concerns and capital efficiency. The C ratio change was voted on and approved with 7 votes in favor and 1 against, and has been implemented. In Grants Council updates, in addition to working with us to publish this quarter's attendance and participation report, the team has also been working on their numerous ongoing projects. Last week, they discussed the Wrapper UI initiative, which 2 devs have been working on. They have received progress updates from both of them and will be in touch with them this week in response to these updates. For the NFT project, the council has been discussing how to go about the treasury fund aspect of the NFTs. This is still in the works, so expect more to come. Lastly, in Ambassador Council news, the team has finished the Uni proposal and they're looking for everyone's support. The signal poll ends June 30th, so be sure to vote in support if you're in favor of deploying a 1 basis point fee to Uni v3. If the vote passes, then the on-chain deployment can move forward, so let's hype this proposal up. And that's it for today's updates. Be sure to check out our weekly recap blog post, share this podcast link, and let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear more about from SNXweave. Thanks for listening.